Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar of PAC Los Angeles. This has only 3 participants. Let's see. Okay. Looks like some people are coming in now. I'd just like to welcome everybody to the webinar with Matías Sauter-Morera and Hannah
Hello.
Sloan of Hannah Sloan Curatorial and Advisory, who is a known art maven in Los Angeles, and Matías is coming to us from Costa Rica today. So we'll just let a few more people filter in, and we'll get started in a minute or so.
Hi, everybody.
So very happy to be here today. So just I'll give you a little bit of information about PAC Los Angeles, the Photographic Arts Council Los Angeles. It's a nonprofit organization that centers on education in the arts, education in fine art photography, and supporting the continuing conversation around fine art photography, particularly here in Los Angeles and overseas and in the rest of the United States. We have webinars like this from time to time. We have, if you're in Los Angeles, please look at our website, paclosangeles.com, and become a member. And we do 2 or 3 events a month, like visiting galleries, visiting artist studios, and we hope you will become a member. So I think right now, let's talk amongst ourselves for 1 more minute and let a few more people start to come in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very punctual here, but we want to make sure that we have everybody who wants to be here is already here. Let's see, what else? PAC has had a busy summer. We've done lots of gallery visits, even though it's been hot and kind of empty in the city, but we've gotten a lot of things done, and we have an interesting conversation coming up in October with it's a live conversation with Barrett Oliver and
Oh, great.
yeah, so that should be and the artist William Camargo, who's a LA-based artist, and Lindy Layton from the Huntington. So that should be good, and look out for information on that. Anyway, so let's plunge in. So welcome again to Hannah Sloan and to Matías Sauter-Morera, who is working on the most interesting projects. And Matías is from San Juan, Costa Rica, and is a graduate of the Veritas University in San Jose. So he's from San Jose, Costa Rica. I'm sorry, and has worked in Argentina and currently goes back and forth between where he lives now and Berlin. His work is fascinating, fabricated memories, narratives using AI, imagined histories. We're going to learn all about that today. But what I want to do first is turn it over to Hannah Sloan, who will give Matías a bit of an introduction, and then we'll turn it to Matías, and then we'll move from there.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Michael Hawley, for hosting us and making this happen. And thank you, of course, to Michael Dawson and all of the members at PAC. You really empower artists in our community by doing public-facing programming like this. And so Matías and I are really honored to be here today. And thank you for all who are visiting from LA and in Costa Rica online. I'm really honored to introduce to you Matías Sauter-Morera. He grew up in the urban environment of San Jose, Costa Rica in the 80s and 90s, and often visited the rural area of the Pacific Coast with his family. Since 2012, he's divided his time between Costa Rica and Berlin. Matías studied photography at Veritas University in San Jose, as Michael mentioned, where his thesis advisor was the highly influential queer artist Roberto Guerrero. And after college, Matías assisted Cynthia Soto, one of Costa Rica's most esteemed photographers, where he was immersed in film-based projects for about 3 years and worked in Costa Rica, Argentina, and Bolivia. He went on to become an editorial photographer, contributing to magazines like Vogue and Condé Nast Traveler, and his personal work has been exhibited and published internationally, Recently, his series Pegamachos, which we're about to speak about, was included in an important lecture series titled Hiding in Plain Sight: Breaking the Gay Code in Art at the Museum of Latin American Art in Long Beach, authored by Ignacio Darnaud. I met Matías in 2023 while I was conducting research for an exhibition called Seguimos: Contemporary Art in Costa Rica, which debuted at Craig Kroll Gallery in March of this year. And I was struck by his powerful grasp of the photographic language and was impressed with his exacting standards when it comes to print quality. It was then that I learned about Pegamachos, a startling, refreshing, and innovative body of work that's both immediately satisfying and prompted many questions. And until discovering Pegamachos, I hadn't seen a photographer really use AI as effectively and in such a brilliant and opportunistic way. Pegamachos is a reimagined history of gay culture in Costa Rica, primarily from the 1970s and 1980s, when social conservatism prevented free expression of homosexuality. The artist uses oral histories that have been passed down within the gay community as his starting point for scenarios characterized equally by historical realism, fantasy, and sexual desire. This project offers a visual platform for a very real but unfortunately undocumented part of queer history, and it really couldn't have been made in all of its sincerity without the use of AI by someone with a deep understanding about photography, art history, and the sensitivity one gains from working intimately with other people as a photographic subject. So with that, I am very pleased and delighted to introduce to you Matías Sauter-Morera.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Hi, everybody. First of all, well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Michael Haley, for giving me this opportunity, and also to Hannah Sloan, yeah, for introducing me here, and of course to Craig Kroll, that is also supporting my work and representing me in the West Coast of the US. So today I'm going to introduce you to the Pegamacho project. But before I want to talk a little bit about my background. I mean, Hannah already introduced me, but so I've been working mainly like in photography and nowadays more like with AI. But actually, like my beginning and my first fascination for the arts was in painting. Actually, like my grandfather and my father, when I was younger, they really wanted us to know a lot about culture and music and architecture. And I had the amazing chance to travel with my grandfather. He was sons of German immigrants in Costa Rica. And he took me once to Europe, and I could see finally like these museums. I saw amazing paintings. I was very impressed in that time with, for example, Goya with dark paintings. I thought it was amazing how raw and it portrays the human condition. Also Caravaggio, that was a little bit more physical, more sensual, and well, also had like really nice male models. But yeah, so I thought actually like I was gonna go into that direction, like a little bit more into painting. But the first course I did in photography and the Veritas University, I loved it. I mean, in comparison to painting, I think photography, what it hooked me was that it's really bound, well, it's bound with reality. You depend on it. And every time you go outside to take a photograph and documentary or portrait, you go out with a vision, but the context you're in and the environment and the subjects, you affect, like your present affects them and they react to you. So I always thought that photography is your vision, but also like a product of that relationship and how people react to you. So on that note, I will show you now like some work. I started more doing portraiture. So this is from my first portraits. during university, I got to know other photographers I really like Diane Arbus, that I love how she was participating, being friends with the subjects and choosing people from that were out of the norm. And also Nan Golding, that I love how she was photographing her intimate like friends, and somehow like in a photo album from what you find in your house. And somehow that becomes like a historical document. So I started traveling and kept on doing like portraits and like more short essays. And but I personally, I really wanted to go out of Costa Rica, meet a little bit of other scenarios. And afterwards, like after, well, I was actually more parallel. Like Hannah said, I moved to Berlin. I want to say very quick here, because it's very important for the project. Coming from Costa Rica, that is very small. I wanted to live in a big city, like in the movies. And Berlin, well, Berlin was, and it is amazing. I mean, more personally, I feel like it just represented for me like freedom in the queer community. You had so many people like with different gender and sexual identities from all around the world. Gay men look very different, like a lot of different types of gay men. I thought maybe there was just a few. And so it really opened my mind. People had really like different notions of what it means to be gay, how you imagine your future, your relationships, love. So yeah, I realized also there that I had quite some blockages, like blockages. And although my family, like they're, I mean, my family is amazing. I love my father and my mother. They're really supportive. Um, Also the context you grew up with and the culture, especially in Costa Rica, that the Catholic Church has a lot of influence. I have a feeling like that influenced you somehow. So being outside of Costa Rica made me think a lot about my identity and what connects me to Costa Rica, and thinking about childhood memories of being in the car with my parents and seeing the tropical nature like unfolding with the lights of the car, like super beautiful. I decided to re-explore this natural context that I identified with very much, and so try to re-see it in different ways, that it's not this paradise, tropical beach paradise that a lot of people say, well, it is very beautiful, but I wanted to see something else. So now I come to Pegamachos. Pegamachos is a term I heard long time ago when I was 19 years old, especially in this area of Guanacaste. This is the map of Costa Rica. So Guanacaste is in the north area, and although the term, it is used for other parts of the country, I think from what I heard, the term basically comes from there. So Guanacaste is a region that you have to imagine is full with lowlands and savannas. And so the cattle ranching economy there is very strong. And with that comes the cowboys. So this is how they look like, or how they still look like, some of them. The cowboy culture, or the sabanero here, is a culture that has a lot of rituals, and they have their own music. They have bullfighting, rodeos, horse parades. So all this culture like really influenced the region, but kind of like spread around the country. And not everywhere, but it has a lot of influence. And even in San Jose, this is another picture, sorry, in Guanacaste. And even in San Jose, this is a picture I took in a yearly horse parade we have, where all the cowboys come and they show the best stallions. And So it has like an influence, even like for us, we see it bullfightings in television in December. There's even rodeos and like town parties. So so the Pegamachos, this legend that I heard at the beginning, I heard it in Guanacaste from three gay men. They were super excited. I was 19 years old. They were also like maybe 25. And they told me, oh my God, we're gonna go to this place, like these villages, and we are gonna look for Pegamachos. And I was like, what is that? Um, well, they told me that in some bars and in some areas of Guanacaste, if you know about it, you could find these guys and you could get a little bit into, well, not fully into sexual interaction. And these men that were heterosexuals, um, following certain sexual practices, uh, their sexual identity will remain heterosexual. So although they're doing homosexual activity, their sexual identity will remain heterosexual. I found that like, wow, oh my, like, I was like, wow, I didn't know this was happening in Costa Rica. It also triggered like a lot of, well, yeah, it triggers fantasies. I was like, oh my God, I want a pegamacho for myself. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to know more about it, and I started asking my friends, and somehow, like with after all these years, like I just got here and there some glimpses of this story in my generation. So I was collecting, but I didn't know if it was true. After meeting 1 year and a year and a half ago, like some 60 plus gay men that really had a lot more information, that it was not like also hearing, and they really told me a lot of stories, and that a lot of their sexual encounters when they were younger were with pegamachos. So I was like, okay, I need to start researching and ask more people. And so I found an article in internet. It's very difficult to find something, but I found this article that also a gay married couple had told this professor that about pegamachos, and also repeating the same story that the pegamachos don't consider themselves gay. Also, I found in dating websites, when you type pegamachos, like the people are looking for pegamachos, usually they say they're looking for hetero straight men, and that sometimes they write, we don't want gay men. Or they say, I'm hetero married man looking for another hetero married man for a discreet encounter. So apparently the gays are not so looked for, like the pegamachos, they are looking more for pegamachos. Some are more aggressive, like, oh, I want this. Some are like gay men looking for pegamachos. I found it very interesting. So immediately I started finding these things, and I went back home, and I was already working with AI and experimenting. So for me, it was very natural that the first things I started to do is trying to recreate them in AI. Like, so AI, just for you to know, when you work with AI, you basically have like a chat. It's like a little bit like a WhatsApp. It's in Discord, and you start writing what you want the AI to create, and you can work with it. So I started writing things that were inside of Costa Rica, and how I did imagine these people from these rural areas in Guanacaste. And I was so happy to see them. Like I was so impressed, and then like it was like a rush, also because of the fantasy. But somehow what I found that what impressed me the most is that I was seeing these guys in places that I identified with, and they're wearing clothes I see other people wearing. And I was creating them. And so I realized like somehow when I was growing up, being a teenager, you know, you never see any historical visuals from the gay community in Costa Rica. I thought I've seen that in movies or documentaries from San Francisco or from New York, but that's so far away. But these men, like all some gays, some pegamachos, are now shown in my location. And I thought if I'm getting quite attracted to see these people in my location and with think parts of the culture, other people from the gay community might enjoy this also. So I decided that I had to do a project. I decided like to start building it. Very quick, I knew that I was gonna use Instagram because it is a platform that really reaches everybody, and a lot of people in Costa Rica don't go to museums or galleries, and a lot of people are in rural areas. And so I thought, no, this has to be for everybody. They have to see it. And so my idea was to use the artificial intelligence to start creating these characters and these homoerotic stories. And together with, you see here that I put some text, like together with some fictional subtitles and text stories that I create, connecting them to some context of reality, you could have a feeling that, oh, this might have happened. And also play with the idea, oh my God, I wish I knew him. I wish this existed. So the project is supposed to like to see and to have the subject around Pegamachos, but I didn't want to limit myself, and I wanted to also talk about the gay community in Costa Rica. So as you saw from these things, like with the dating website, that some people are looking for a straight married man with a straight married man, that they're looking for that as friendships. I thought, okay, so I will play with that concept, and that, for example, this one is about two colleagues that are working in the Hitachi company in Costa Rica. Now it's closed, but and on a long weekend they decide to do a road trip together, and they find themselves in this beach, and somehow the situation becomes very romantic. You don't know what's gonna happen, but somehow it describes a little bit like this Pegamacho behavior and maybe a possible love story. So this is Christian. This is an image I really like. I wanted to have one very young person in the story. So Christian is like a runaway. Like he is somebody who's not feeling accepted or that belongs in his village or by his family. So he decides to go to the city, like just to find people like himself. And he stops in this bar that is called the El Amor de Calle, that is kind of known from oral accounts that is a little bit where Pegamachos go, and also some gay people go. So it might be a little bit like a safe place. And I thought like, well, this guy is looking so brave and well, so young. And I thought like when I went to Berlin, I saw so many stories. Although I thought Europe is so progressive and that's over, I found many stories of these same runaways trying to seek in Berlin like a safe place. And so I think this is something quite common, and also like he being brave to go away is like maybe like a symbol of that moment where you step out of the norm. So this is also in the Amor de Calle. I really wanted like the fictional stories to have some places or some sometimes characters that I could always go back with and maybe have another story there. So El Amor de Calle, I situated it in between Guanacaste and the city, in a place called Grecia, which is Greece, Greece like the country. And I thought like it would be great to have like this bar in Greece for, well, for the obvious references. On that note, I created also in more an urban scenario, Club La Nave. And I started already playing here a little bit more with the clothing. I go back to this scenario months later to have some Pegamachos land workers that come to the city to see what they can get. So this is graving. It's also more like an urban guy, probably from some of the villages. In the story is a Pegamacho describing him, a little bit like admiring him. So is saying like, so this is graving, and he was always so brave. He was a rebel, a little bit meaning to show himself like that. It was graving sometimes against the world and graving sometimes with the whole world, meaning that he was hooking up with everybody. This story I did with, I think it was taxi drivers at the beach. I have a feeling it's also a very Costa Rican image. So I'm showing you parts of the project, like things I'm doing, some ideas, not only the homoerotic Pegamacho stories. By using like the AI with these fictional written stories, I realized very quick that it opened a door for exploring a lot more creativity, and started thinking about what if scenarios. Like I can even go beyond just characters and just go even more fictional. So in Berlin, there's this cruising culture, which cruising is like in the gay community, like saying, okay, you can meet people in this park, in those bushes, and you're gonna have a sexual interaction. It will be anonymous. So I thought, what if I had that, but how would it look like in a more rural scenario in Guanacaste? So I created this one, also this one. So also something, if you have seen the Instagram, I also use a lot of music, old music from that is famous in Latin America, sometimes more pop, but some of the music is highly romantic, which I thought, oh wow, it's so romantic, and then you place it into this context. But I use one song for this cruising scenario that is called Noche de Ronda, which means night of the rounds. And the song describes a person that is in the night doing rounds, looking for something. And the singer says, you have to stop these rounds. These are bad, and these are gonna make you harm. So I kind of appropriated this song and thought, what if I just maybe this song was created for the singer is singing for a cruising scenario of gay men. And so I started using it a little bit of a leitmotif. Sometimes that if I have cruising scenarios or cruising stories, I can also use the song performed by maybe a different artist. So probably you have seen this one. This I will talk for a second, like a little bit more. I was in the Caribbean side, which I go quite often, and near to the border of Panama is Tixaola. So I thought, oh, I'm gonna create one here. It's super rural. The houses look exactly like this, and I thought like maybe I can create Andres. Andres is on the side of the road, and where all the passerbys are going to Panama border, and merchants and stuff, which doesn't happen so much, but I said, okay, there's a lot more happening. Andres, as a signalization, burns the light in the house and let the Pegamachos know they are welcome to enter. So in this case, Andres is like a Pegamacho hunter, and he is making use of this scarcity of boys to get all the Pegamachos he can. And although this story like is quite homoerotic and sexual, it has something else. I decided if I'm creating a little bit like a fictional historical archive, I have to also get involved with historical facts or things that maybe do make the viewers a little bit curious about Costa Rican identity or history. In this case, Andres is son of a Lebanese. And by saying that, maybe some people might wonder, Lebanese, are they Lebanese in Costa Rica? But yeah, there's like a migration of Lebanese people and families that have had like many businesses that now are quite famous in the country. Also, in this case, I decided to use Adidas short pants. In Berlin, you see a lot of men in the gay community in more a contemporary time using these pants as, I don't know, for me, I already related like to the gay community. Then I have Positas, which is also in the Caribbean. This is on the side of the lagoon in Manzanillo. And I thought, okay, everybody goes there to Positas, and after dark, only the banana plantation workers and the hotel construction workers stay there, and maybe something happens later. Of course, I leave something to just you imagine. But in this case, also, I wanted to introduce the Afro-Caribbean culture, which has an influence on our identity as well. And also talking about like, okay, facts that could make you curious, like, okay, banana plantation, banana has shaped like the whole region and has like a whole story in the background. So with all these what if scenarios, I decided to even go a little bit, be even more fictional. And I thought, for example, like what if these Pegamachos like would have had a lot more freedom of expression or less social gender expectations? What if like they would have had like less shame, and would that have like would have had developed like their fashion and their traditions also differently? So I started using the clothing to like kind of explore that idea. And this is Miguelito, and he is coming with bullfighting realness. On that note, I also decided to create, instead of these town parties like being with rodeos and violence and like people throwing bottles and like the horse parades, I thought, okay, maybe I just make one of these festivities Barbie themed, and everybody is wearing pink. In this case, also with the clothing, in Berlin, I've seen, and I was very impressed when I saw it, like the latex fetish, which I never saw in my life before. So I thought, why if I put inside, I change the material to latex and kind of like to sexualize them without having like a sexualization in the whole image. And because I also worked like in things in fashion and I decided like to say like, okay, what if I just do for the Instagram, like I'm gonna do street styles and present like the street styles from these festivities. So afterwards, in the Instagram story, I thanked myself. So I kind of did like a self-portrait. I don't know if I look like, but so I introduced me like as a photographer for that event specifically. In this Barbie Town Fest, I also started like thinking about introducing more LGBTQ plus individuals. So playing a little bit with that idea. So this is again with other clothings, pechuguitas. So these are Los Palomos, which I did. They are like, how do you say, like, they are performers, and they have all these costumes, and they are working for the Gran Hotel Costa Rica, which is quite famous in San Jose. And after the shows, they have parties in the backstage, and some people that might come, some man of the government, and yeah, they're fooling around, and the Gran Hotel Costa Rica discovered this, and of course, like, laid them off, and nothing happens to the people of the government, but to the artists, like, they go back to poverty. So I write at the end, like, that's such a loss for culture. Yeah, something interesting is that in the prompt, I experimented in this specific one with the wording of Trinity, to see if I could get something like resembling like the religious paintings. I don't know if it's still there, but sometimes I explore in writing the prompts like with words and or different references that are not exactly like descriptions, man with this and this. So thinking as well, like if I should include other important population of the country in the project. Okay, this is Don Feliciano. I will talk very quick about this, but so when I talked before about Berlin and thinking about notions of being gay, when you kind of step out of this normative and you say, okay, I'm gay, you kind of also start wondering about like how you're gonna live love and your future, and but it's also like an opportunity. But yeah, there's different scenarios, and so a thought of mine is always it is like, how do you grow old as being gay? And so I wanted to introduce one character like that, and starting reflecting. Don Feliciano is called the solterón del pueblo. So solterón is a word that in Costa Rica is used to basically like single shame a person that is without a couple. And I have had it also. People said that to me, so I created this character that everybody thought in town he was a solterón, but actually he was having like years of love and romance with a Pegamacho from San Carlos, but nobody could know that. Also for this image, I linked it with the song Perfume de Gardenia, which is Gardenia's perfume. That is a beautiful romantic song in Latin America. Yeah, and also going to other subjects I could explore and bring together to this fictional narrative. So there's so many legends here. Like there's some legends that if a person gets drunk and it's too late in the streets, there's legends that a creature will appear, and then so that the man gets scared and come back home. So I thought maybe I add like this creature, El Pisuicas, which is a type of devil, and it appears to the Pegamachos once in a while, like when they are drunk. And I thought as a symbol maybe of this repressed sexuality that they had to fight. So they're in the story, this comes a little bit like a leitmotif that once in a while there's this fight with the devil. This is accompanied by a song actually called Fighting with the Devil, that is a popular cumbia. This is also from a dream. I said that a Pegamacho is dreaming that he's finally with this lover, but they are fighting then this bull, and for me the bull was also like a symbol of this devil. And I think this is the last one. In this case, so this I created. Well, it was Holy Week here, so I was exploring doing one with religion, and I thought like creating a Pegamacho that kind of gives into these desires and to create one that represents that. In a way, like I feel like he's saying goodbye to religion. The song that comes together with this is called Satanás, but one part of the lyrics says, I really want to talk to Satan so that he can give me what God couldn't. And yeah, so I thought it was really, really good to do that. Yeah, this is for the next part of the project. As I said, I thought that maybe I could include other LGBTQ plus individuals. And in this case, these are the clan of Las Fieritas. You would translate it like the Fierce clan, and I thought, like, you see, I grew up seeing the trans community more as sex workers in San Jose. It was not at all open. Thank God, like now it's changing. But so I thought, like, I also want to give some visibility in this Pegamacho verse. So, but also like putting them in a rural scenario, I thought, okay, what if I just put them as these vendors that have fruits in the streets, and you can buy them, but you always see the vendors like walking up and down. So I thought, this is like a runway, and they are gonna dress fabulous to come and start selling these fruits, and I want to give them like a fierce character. So this is the last I will show from the project, so that you see different thematics and subjects I'm doing. Some of them are more directed to recreate in a documentary essay. Okay, this is a Pegamacho, and it's like more homoerotic, and some of them are more fictional. But I think like this project, although it started more as a project I wanted to create homoerotic stories, the project has given me like a platform also to address other issues in the gay community, and also to express myself, concerns or things I like. Sometimes I think something, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's interesting for the Pegamacho. Maybe somebody else relates, and maybe it can create a conversation. So for me, it has been very important, and also I am putting together not only the visual. I'm trying to rescue also a lot of nice music from Latin America, and I discovered that I really like to write. So for this Pegamacho project, I'm following now this project of Luke Guilford, national anthem. He grew up near in the rodeos, and he noticed that it was a very homophobic environment. Afterwards, when he then studies, and he comes back and starts documenting and making portraits of the queer community. So he actually like lived already these scenarios. Okay, with this, I start talking about more the AI and challenges you might face and things I saw. Working with AI and writing the prompts, you have to be very detailed. You have to like describe everything you can to make the image, because I mean, at the end, it's like working with a person or directing a person. It's an intelligence, but this intelligence has other reference that maybe you have. So sometimes, I mean, it was a journey at the beginning of trial and error. Now I kind of understand this robot, and I like the robot. But for example, things that sometimes happen is you see this image that it's kind of like, oh, nice, but actually it came like this. Also, sometimes something like this could happen. And then I learned, okay, for example, I described in this one, I wanted to have a portrait, but instead of describing, oh, I want a portrait of this person wearing Adidas, you know, like I started describing the legs, and then somehow I realized that the order you describe the picture is very, very important. Otherwise, you might get that. Another challenge that I got, like, by working with AI, was also like gender representation. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a problem, but I mean, in this case, I described this man as gay, and they came also very feminine, in a traditional way of femininity. Sorry, but so I started researching, and I got to this artist called Jake Elves. He had, actually, his work is it's criticizing that every AI software or model has to be fed with data sets that is like thousands of pictures that the AI can like see, and then understand, and then predict with algorithms and create new things, but it needs some base. And in this case, Jack Elf said that he was finding that the models, they had a lack of the queer community in them, and that the queer representation was not as accurate, or sometimes glitching. So he decided to create this project, the CC Show, where he creates his own model and data sets by photographing a lot of drag queens and a lot of people with different gender and sexual identities, and creates through deepfake technology a drag show that they are singing songs, and they are not so constructed. And this is amazing. This is part of what he wants to express. Another very big challenge that I had is portraying nudity, or like you write like man, shirtless man, and it blocks you. So of course, because I wanted to create like some homoerotic stories and images, I needed to have some of it. So I thought, okay, if it's blocking me everything that has a slightly erotic factor, maybe I can kind of trick this AI and say, create first a statue, or create first a drawing. So I started using reference of Greek statues, in this case is Heracles and Athenus. So I said, okay, AI, create me this statue. So the AI creates this. I'm like, okay, it seems they're still like shirtless. And after a while, I can say, okay, from this, now let's transform it into a picture with real men. And from there, like in a Latin-based looking, and by working, then I got like, for example, this ones. Well, it's exactly this one, sorry. Another one that I did is also thinking about anatomical illustrations. So I asked the AI to create anatomical illustrations. Then I developed that till I have like a nice illustration of a man that looks kind of sexy to me. And from there, I can transform it into something like this. Okay, now that I've been printing the images, that it feels very natural. I want to have them in my hand. A little bit like in the project, I always thought it would be so nice to have this project, the feeling that you open a box like Vivian Mayer, that they find all these negative, and suddenly you start grabbing the images and thinking, who are these people? Like, what was their past? And which is something I always did in my grandparents' house. So I started exploring the printing process, but AI, what it gives you is a very highly low resolution image. It's like 1000 per 1000 pixels. So of course you cannot enlarge this. So in my case, I started experimenting. I love printing, and so the first image on the left is the original being in the size for the print. So what I did is investigate, like, okay, I need upscalers that are AI upscalers, which means with certain models and algorithms, these upscalers recognize what is in the picture and says, okay, if we have like skin, I'm gonna start creating skin texture and recreating that. If I have hair also, so it recognizes what is in the picture so that in the enlargement, you can actually use it. It doesn't always work. It's a lot of things doesn't work well. So what I did is start using a lot of different upscaler models. All of them have something positive for something and negative for the other, etc. But for example, the one in the middle is one upscaler, which I love. The glow, it was a little bit out of focus. So I thought, okay, this is perfect for the out of focus areas. The next one on the right created really nice textures in the skin and the hair, but somehow also fake and too sharp. So for this image, I used, I think, like 5 or 6 models, and then in different layers in Photoshop, start saying, okay, a little bit of this one. Yes. Okay. So I thought, so I grabbed, for example, a little bit of the skin texture from one, a little bit from the out of focus in the other. The leather jacket looks in another one very nice. And then the final picture looks like this. And well, this is in the final prints. The prints, sorry, are 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters. I forgot the measurement in the American measure. Okay, another challenge that I just got yesterday is that I got a restriction to the account. I've been having messages from Instagram somehow that my account is too sexual, but or not good for some people, and so yesterday got restricted. So I think I cannot send messages, and yeah, so this is a challenge. Sometimes the AI is really nice, but in this case with Instagram, probably the algorithms, I don't know if it's, I don't know what they detect, but it's, well, the fact is that it's getting restricted. Okay, so for things that made me very happy is that I got included in the publication of the magazine Orgullo in Costa Rica. That is a magazine that is there for every year, and it comes out during Pride. And they have really, really important information also about health and community and arts. So it's a very important publication here, and I got honored by them to be part of it this year. Another thing that really excites me is next year I'm gonna have an exhibition of the Pegamachos in Santa Monica in Craig Crook Gallery. So I think that's gonna be amazing. And from the project, like from how people are reacting to it here in Costa Rica, I think I'm very happy that, for example, people are coming to me and saying, "Oh, can you create one situation like this, including these characters or these type of people or these vendors? That it would be amazing. It would be amazing to have this story." So I have people like kind of like already imagining what if scenarios, and somehow this is something that makes me happy, because it's also makes you see your context in a different way. Although it's lightheaded and also could be fun. And yeah, I think that would be the end of my presentation. So this is the Instagram account. If you want to see, like, read the stories and hear the music and see more of the Pegamachos, I would be very happy to have you.
Thank you so much for doing this, Matthias. It's sort of engendered a whole bunch of questions. I mean, the idea of having a part of history that was hidden and only sort of existed in a sub rosa oral history being made flesh, literal, like not literally, but like AI-ly, into something that these pictures look so real. It's startling that none of them are actually real people. Could you stop sharing your screen and so we
Yes.
can go back to the three of us here? Yeah. So like it made me think. I was talking to somebody the other day about this idea of like the critical. It's kind of a theoretical idea, but like the critical imaginary, which is the idea that not that the world should be this way. It's kind of used in design, used in design, but it's not the idea that the world should be this way, but what should the world be like? You know, it's the question. It opens it up, and that's what I think you've done here. You've brought up the idea of what would the world be like if this had all been out in the open, you know, and it leads so much to ideas of what other histories do we have that are unseen in the world that this could be utilized in a really good way to make flesh. Yeah. It's so interesting. There's sort of the idea of imagined histories, and you know, other photographers in the past have done similar things, but they've set them up. They've kind of staged pictures and taken the photograph, like we were talking about the other day, like Von Gloden, but even Herb Ritz and people like that. They set up these scenarios. They're not real, but anyway, go
No,
ahead.
but definitely what you say, and also about like using it as a tool to maybe use it as a rescue tool. Yesterday, I mean, we were talking about it, and I already started thinking. For example, like in Caribbean coast, everything is so humid. I have my friend Marcus Brown from that has the Rich Coast Project that is in charge of collecting a lot of pictures, old pictures, to start building an archive of the history of the Caribbean.
Mhm.
But a lot of them are like, you see just little stuff, and I just thought yesterday that we talked about it, maybe already having the images, you can kind of try to recreate even those and bring them back alive.
Right, right. If there are people in the audience who have questions that they could just put them in the chat and I'll bring them up. But uh, I think, you know, I'm not positive what Zoom is going to do when we hit 4 o'clock, if we're going to get kicked out. But if so, then goodbye, everybody. But let's just continue to the conversation. Hannah, did you have questions that came up during the conversation?
I'm always impressed. Oh, someone in the audience has a question.
Yeah,
Maybe we should
question
take
from the
that
audience says,
first.
it says, what would be an example of a typical prompt?
Of a
Like,
typical prompt.
yeah.
Um,
From
an
your
example, well, they all change. Well, some of them are very similar when you have like similar images. For example, if you're using documentary, I would say like the first, you have to describe at the beginning. Sometimes I describe the atmosphere of where the people are situated. Like it's like a book. You can say like under the midday sun in a savanna that looks like ta 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 ta. You have to describe all the scenario, and then you can introduce the character. There's I don't know, there's a man that is wearing this outfit, looking like this, and then you describe the situation you want, and at the end you can describe also photographical technical things like lighting wise. This portrait is being lighted from with a lateral light. It feels like a light box with 2.8 f-stop, and it's shot by 35 millimeters. You can go as far as that. And yeah, so something like this.
Right. Let's see. I'm just trying to think if there are other
Can I say something
Yes, please.
else? Just that it pops to the mind. Very important also with every model is because they are like intelligence, you have to kind of understand each one, how they reference and how they work. It's how understanding a person you're working with. They have different reference, and every word you put that has something aesthetically related is gonna, it can work in different ways. Sometimes you want, for example, I understood that you want like a t-shirt that is leopard print, and then suddenly there's the leopard print of the t-shirt, but there's something in behind that is like a tiny cat, like a leopard. So that's why the descriptions have to be very precise, and also the reference. Another example of using reference is I started saying, okay, let's place this character in a party, but then I saw that every time I put party, it put me balloons and colorful stuff. And that was not my reference of the party. My reference of the party was a club.
Right.
And I put, yeah, so I put club, I write club, but then the characters have also a glimpse of aesthetical of ravers. So I understood by that I couldn't use party, but I could describe in a crowded bar, a little bit run down, there's a crowd of people dancing, and there's lights. So I describe that instead of putting just one reference that the AI refers to balloons.
Right. So you're getting better and better and better at it every time you do it.
Yes.
Like you're not getting sort of random disembodied legs anymore. You know, it's like, yeah. So as you've done this, what I was just interested about you as a writer. Like, have you sort of discovered yourself as a writer too in this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a total surprise that I was enjoying so much the process of writing, because it's something I never ever did.
Right. So great. So we just had a couple questions coming in. Somebody, let's see, it's actually Craig, I think, yeah, asked, what has been the reception of these images in Costa Rica among the gay community?
Well, as I said before, like I think the reception, well, everybody is really like, where did the first thing was, where do you find these guys? Where are they? Oh my God, some of the people were saying, I want to meet them, and immediately I'm like, no, it's AI. But yeah, I have a lot of people coming to me and being fascinated, and they want to also participate in the project. Yeah, but also sharing which scenarios they want to see. So I think so far has been, yeah, has been very positive.
Mm-hmm. And this question comes from Paul Martineau. He says, do you occasionally use a camera to generate these images, or are all of the pictures in this series cameraless?
Yeah, thank you. Like this, most of them are cameraless, but once in a while I use also photographs of that I have taken as well. Also from landscapes. If the AI is not understanding so well, like location, then I have a lot in the telephone that I always take. So sometimes I feed the AI to see and understand the landscape so that it can recreate it.
Got it.
That's interesting, because one of the highlights of this work, I think, for me, who's been traveling around Costa Rica a lot, is how specific you are, and how you can really feel the landscape and the atmosphere and the weather and the smells and everything just by looking at your images. It feels really alive and very specific to the Costa Rican landscape. So I'm glad you shared that information.
I really like the idea that, you know, you showed that picture of the boy with the blue Jack Christian, I think you said his name was, and the original highly pixelated version, and then how you moved along there. Was this something that you you worked very hard to figure out how to do, or is this something that was easy for you to figure out?
No, well, I had to research, yeah, like because, well, there's some information in internet, like you write, how do I enlarge it for printing? How can I make this? And you have some information, but somehow, let's say they offer you a software and you see that it's not working. So after a while, I had this idea of trying maybe with different models would be different, and I can mix it up.
Mhm.
So. Well, maybe it was something I didn't read, I created for myself.
Let's see. This person asks, are all of the images solely created by the prompts, or do you have some images and photographs?
Yeah,
That's essentially what Paul Martin just asked. It's a similar
yeah.
question.
Can I say something quick?
Yes, please.
Just, but the majority of the image, like them, almost the majority, like are generated text to image. It's just when I feel that there's something not working that I use an extension, let's say.
This is an interesting question. So this comes from Sean. He says, what is the current culture of Pegamachos? And are/were there similar cultures in Central America or elsewhere?
Great question.
Mm-hmm. So from the gay community, I have heard that these behaviors have happened in other places. Somebody from El Salvador told me. I have to say, like I said at the beginning, I'm having trouble in this generation to find more Pegamachos. So it seems that they used to they existed even more in a conservative era, like the 1970s, 80s. That's why gay men 60 plus were having more information about it. And now the information is kind of getting less and less. And I think, in my assumption, that is something that decreased with a more open society, and they can express themselves better.
Right. Here's an interesting question coming from Cindy, and she says, one of the things that doesn't look real in AI images are the eyes. Is that something that you have thought about or worked on, or does it matter in the fantasy world?
Actually, for me, that doesn't matter so much. I mean, I do like how they look, but as I when you enlarge a little bit the images, you also find a lot of like digital artifacts that will sometimes I retouch, and maybe the eyes are not perfect, but somehow I don't mind that people know that this is AI, because the project, although it's how do you say, like, it looks like a photograph. I don't mind that they know that it's actually made by AI. So if there's some artifacts or digital things that reveal that, for me, it's fine.
So here's some props from, this is from Marcus. He says, your work is remarkable. I love how you bring the memories and events to life, infusing them with rich Latin context. Congratulations on this outstanding images. And that's very nice. But the one thing that you and I talked about this the other day was the idea, for example, in that Barbie picture of the guy in the pink against the pink car, and behind it is the market scene and the guy with the hat who just looks like a regular guy, not in pink, just in his regular clothes. Just giving a double take, and say they make those backgrounds, those rich backgrounds, situate the work in a particular place and make them even more real than they already look. And I think it's really great. And like the transgender people on the side of the road with the garbage and the old car and stuff like that. Is that something that you really spend time figuring out, what does it really look like, and what do I want it to be like?
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. Sometimes, sometimes you can prompt, and if you prompt well, like you do some changes and it's done. But sometimes, like you can really grab parts of the image. Let's say you leave the character, you can change the clothes if you want. You say, okay, now let's change from here down. You can change the backgrounds and redo them. In this case, with that you say with the roads, I actually really wanted them to be like in a dirty way, with some trash around, so that it looked really like something that it would be here.
That's really interesting. So there's one other question about, and we probably should wrap up soon, but this is another technical question asking you if with the AI, did you add filters to make the images look like they were from a certain time period? And if so, was the AI good at that? I mean, we talked a little bit about you wanting to look like the 70s, right? Or 70s and 80s. And was it good at finding the right clothes or finding the right environments or hairstyles and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, the filters first thing, I think this you can put in the description as well. I mean, you as I said, like with photographic technical things, you can also describe the image to have certain filters, or that it looks, you cannot write that it looks like a Polaroid, that it looks like a rundown Polaroid. You have many, like, all scenarios that you can create. You can even say that the picture is, you can see the texture of the paper. Something, let's say, this is, you describe it. What else did you ask me? Sorry.
No, whether the AI was responded well to that, like when you would put in a prompt of saying, like, I mean, he uses the word filters, but I think it's the prompts that we're talking about, right? Like
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. For that, I can reply something. Well, it's I've been working for a while, like, with it. Sometimes it works very well, but that also is dependable on the models. For example, the model, it gets actualization, or you get a new model every some months, and that changes a lot of things. So it's like not a complete restart, but sometimes, like, then suddenly, like, the filters in the last model were not working, in this one works everything perfectly.
Right.
And you can also add that, say to the AI, be very detailed, like create this image, take more time, and you can even see, like, the fabric, like every little dot of the fabric and on the skin. In my case, for example, because the images have to be a little bit like analog, I actually say do not stylize so much, not the less, because then they look different, but I say don't use middle power so that they have still out of focus, etc.
There's a question that I'm not quite sure what she's referring to, but she said, can you speak about the distorted hands? Was it a choice to leave them distorted?
Well,
Do you
I
know
would
what
ask.
she's referring to?
Probably she referring to the one of the devil
Yeah.
that I left it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a very simple question. It's like, how long on average does it take? It's a really good question, but how long on average does it take to develop an image in AI from when you start doing the prompts to getting it to one of the pieces like you have that you've shown us?
Well, it really depends on the image, but, like, very technical based, like, the image after you write the prompt can be done in, I don't know, a minute.
Mhm.
But usually the image that you have to work with it, I mean, it's usually sometimes, like, you write something in the order, it's like, no, this is not what I wanted. So
Right.
you have to do several trials and be more specific. Well, the more you do it, the quicker it is. But yeah, I have been, like, maybe 2 hours also, like, in one, like, because I just want to have it perfectly.
So we have a couple more questions, but I think we need to end. But I wanted to end with this one interesting question. It's this is from Paul Martineau. It's like, what are the transitional steps from AI to the physical print?
The transition. Okay, well,
Just the steps that you go through.
the steps. Okay, so as I said, like, with the upscaler AI models, which are these softwares, which I use some to try it out. The AI gives you the image in a low resolution. You can download immediately in a PNG format. So this is like 1000 by 1000 pixels. And then you add it into one of these softwares. It can be also online. There's even, like, I think There's one, there's several online that you can just upload the image and it makes it and you can download it. So I use some online and some with a software called Topaz AI that has also other models inside. And then I combine them in different layers and try to get like, okay, the jacket in this one looks very good and the background in this one looks good. So I grab a little bit from every upscaling product to create one very nice looking image.
And they're really great looking. It's a good way to.
Thank you.
And so for anybody who's seen this and wants to share it with anybody in like within the month, it'll be available on our YouTube channel. And it's a great thing that everybody stayed. All the audience stayed with us, which is fantastic. And Matías and Hannah, thank you so much for spending this time with us. And we'll really look forward to seeing your show at Craig Kroll Gallery from March 22nd all the way through May 3rd. And that's just in Bergamot Station down in Santa Monica, building B2, I think, or B3.
B3. I highly encourage everyone to attend the show and see the beauty of these images in person, where the eyes look very real.
And so that's Craig Kroll Gallery in Bergamot Station in March. And we'll certainly, PAC will let you know about it. And thank you very much, everybody, for attending. And that's about it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matías. You were great.
Bye, Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Ciao.